Hello everyone, Timo here. Just checking in before the start of my first video of 2024. Things may be a little bit rough around the edges, but I've been swamped recently. Renting jobs, removing Christmas decorations and replacing curtains, and even dealing with some unpleasant coughs and sore throats. In addition, I was accompanying my maternal aunt on two separate pilgrimages during the first week of the year, just before she returned to the United States. But let's get this thing on the way. Almost 2 weeks ago, an advocacy ad aired during the primetime newscast, talking about changing or updating the prevailing 1987 Constitution, or Traslacion or Cha-Cha for short, but some advocates people want to call it constitutional reform. But the catchphrase, Ed Puera, basically diss the historic 1986 People Power Revolution. It's no surprise then that this year, February 25, will not be a holiday. But that aside, the messaging is juicy to say the least. It'll grab all the online con ref peeps, especially for one group, by dropping, quote, truth bombs, unquote, in a minute. Basically, it's preaching to the choir at the perfect time, just like that ad. But would that be convincing enough to the masses? But before we dive into that rabbit hole, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any future content. That advertisement was allegedly paid for by Ghana Atienza Abisado law offices. Their clientele is not what you expect from a Chamber of Commerce. We're talking about former Senators Ping Lacson and TG Gingona, former Congresswoman Lucy Torres Gomez, and late Congressman Edward Hagedorn. But one of them struck us the most is Mayor Alfred Romualdez of Tacloban, the brother of House Speaker Martin Romualdez and cousin of incumbent President Bongbong Marcos. During the primetime newscast of the Black Nazarenes' fastest procession on record last January 9, the ad aired a few times on ABS-CBN's channels and once on GMA and TP5. Yes, it cost millions to air one. It's worth noting that ABS-CBN, the former dominant broadcaster that used to stand alone, has been losing money for a few years. They're clearly struggling to stay afloat on a new business model after failing to renew their broadcast franchise in 2020, resulting in the consequential industry shakeup we are unfolding on our screens today. That's why they need the money, even if it means sacrificing their credibility and reputation. Despite the controversy, supporters of that act saw it as a deliberate attempt to highlight the potential consequences of the congressman's position on that franchise renewal, even though the ad creators, whoever they are, didn't explicitly or implicitly mention it. Anyway, that advertisement begins directly with a strong statement. The narrator blames the Constitution for impeding globalization, displaying images of frozen investors and Filipinos. It's a direct shot at the contentious 60-40 equity rule in favor of Filipinos, emphasizing its impacts on critical industries and specific sectors. Education, agriculture, and public utilities, these key sectors get singled out as being particularly choked by the rule. Ultimately, the advertisement promotes an economic agenda while ignoring questions about governance. But isn't good governance just as important for progress as any ardent supporter will tell you? Sure, the CONREP is fixated on the EDSA Pero line, which proposes updating our near permanent social contract to reflect changing times, nearly 4 decades after the event. Indeed, it's an unfinished business, but they're not patient anymore. The promises made at post-event were broken, poor educational quality, frightened investors, the investment oasis created by the president's overseas visits turning into mirage, corruption galore, and so on. However, they're missing the deeper side of the cultural iceberg, such as rising ideological extremism, which is not necessarily about armed struggle, botched policy implementation, the Marcos' eventual return to Malacanang, which had happened, and the impending return of Duterte, based on the Zarzuela antics rather than with real ones. So they indeed see a chance, a window to fix things. But the real question is, are we just witnessing chaos, or are we caught in a masterfully woven plan, powerless to stop it? Where are the politically engaged madla trying to show up? I think they're utterly drained and discouraged. The 2022 election was their turning point. While they're not second guessing their choices, the whole experience left them, especially from the harrowing rule from the old man of the South from 2016 to 2022, pulverized. The gears of the political machine, the relentless pressure, and the online vitriol, all those papiyo and pasikat accusations, smart shaming, made them seriously question whether this was the right space for them, and if they would participate again. They're taking a step back, focusing on their personal and professional lives, allowing others to take control on the political conversation. Ika nga, they get the government they deserve, and second, we only live once. Despite those who made a firm decision to get themselves out of this hell, the public outcry is undeniable. The timing was clearly opportunistic for those watching the coverage and disrespectful to the atmosphere of the cultural event. In addition, we have more than a year until the midterms. Sure, some argue that these polls are just popularity contests rather than looking for qualified and competent people to pass sensible legislation as proven by our electoral almanac. But senators wield real power, as, quote, obstructors, unquote, the advocates would say. And the stakes are even higher with the president's eldest sister up for re-election. This timing raises serious questions about the motives and overshadows the issues in question. Expect significant negative publicity and reputational harm for the law firm involved. And honestly, given our current political climate and cultural complexities, is this cause even feasible? Well, GLWT, good luck with that. So, what is your opinion on that advertisement and the message behind it? Put it in the comments, and I promise to plan for the next regular video. See you next time.